Captain's log, stardate 8.27 years before my rise to Galactic Emperor. Having learned of the success of replicating a new spine for Commander Worf, we underwent a dangerous procedure to see if Harry could grow a pair of balls. The experiment has proven a success, though I expect the balls are unstable and will lose cohesion before next week. And it has consumed the majority of our power. If we can't find an alternate source of power soon, I'll be forced to cut power to the containment fields of my giant spider terrarium. And that can't happen. I can't afford to train a new captain's assistant right now. So to cope with their power problems, they're looking for deuterium, an isotope of one of the most common things in the universe besides stupidity. And so, being Voyager, they are naturally unable to find the most common thing there is, thus explaining why they have failed to get home. Tuvok and Chakotay are going to need to come up with even more ways to conserve power, so people are being reassigned to different areas of the ship, essential items only. This is to kick off the episode's subplot, which is called, I'm Surrounded by Assholes.
What, may I ask, is this?
That, Mr. Vulcan, is the selected works of Jurex. I never go to sleep without reading at least one of his parables.
A habit you will have to break until we're able to restore power to crew quarters.
All right. I want everyone here who is not Neelix or Tuvok to leave the room now. Everyone gone? All right. Tuvok? Neelix is being reasonable and you are not. And Neelix, if you tell anyone I said that, I'll shoot you. After taking away his space-wasting book, Tuvok also takes away Neelix's pillows and blanket. He'll have to use the standard-issue Starfleet ones because we all know how much space will be wasted if Neelix has a slightly thicker pillow to use. The worst part is that everyone else is hauling in stuff, but by the time Tuvok is done, Neelix has nothing but the clothes on his back that he's carrying in. I mean, as much as I like to see Neelix on the receiving end of dickish behavior instead of being the instigator, it's hard to see Tuvok's point when people are walking behind him with steam trunks and cellos and he has a hissy fit over a book. What's worse is that this sets up round 2, which we're going to get to later. First, we need to see more signs of their priorities.
You were ordered to shut down Astrometrics an hour ago. We can't afford the power.
Damn right. The last thing you need when you're desperately searching the galaxy is a room that is dedicated to searching the galaxy. Yeah. If their bus ever broke down in the desert, Voyager's priority would be to take the batteries out of their sat phone in order to power their electric blankets. And sure enough, while Chakotay is criticizing Seven for keeping Astrometrics running, and I mean while, as in before he's even finished complaining about it, she finds the deuterium that they need. But that's Chakotay. By the time he finished explaining why a new battleship wouldn't work, it probably would have been built and won 2 victories. The downside of this discovery is that the planet is Class Y, also called Demon Class. Chakotay then explains why a demon planet is a mistake, saying that even entering standard orbit is suicidal. We shouldn't do this. Then we go to titles, come back, and Janeway has already put Voyager in orbit, though whether out of desperation or just to spite Chakotay is anyone's guess. Their attempts to beam up some deuterium ends with the transporter malfunctioning and 2 crew members in the sickbay. A probe isn't going to work either. It's going to be destroyed before it even reaches the surface. But Harry suggests something even stronger than a probe, one of their spacesuits.
Need I remind you, Ensign, that there is no environment less hospitable to humanoid life than a Class Y.
Actually, Tuvok, no, you needn't remind me.
Heh Harry with balls. I'm liking this. I haven't had this much fun since I taught baby Naomi to smoke cigars. Harry goes one better, not only volunteering himself, but volunteering Tom to come along and help. And Tom seems to agree with it, if only to congratulate Harry on smacking Tuvok down.
Believe me, nobody enjoys seeing the Vulcan Master put down a peg more than I do. I was just surprised, that's all.
Why?
It didn't seem like you.
I suppose it's easier to go through character changes when you don't actually have any character.
In the last 4 years, a lot has happened. I fought the Borg, been transformed into an alien, helped defeat the Hirogen. Hell, I've even come back from the dead.
Yeah, we've all come back from the dead. You're no one special. So, with new confident Harry in the co-pilot seat, Tom takes them down to a planet that no one should ever land on. So they take the shuttle used for the really dangerous missions.
Remind me to volunteer you to help the next time I have to clean the warp plasma manifolds.
That's your job, too? At this point, I'm starting to wonder if Tom's is the only name on the roster that Janeway can remember, so every time a job needs doing, she just tells him to. Now, let's start with what the Apollo program did. That was an adventure. That was 12 human beings traveling to another world, carrying the tiniest sliver of our own around them to survive, and visit in the name of peaceful exploration and scientific advancement. When you watch the footage of those brave human beings, it's hard to resist the envy for what they are doing, the risks they took, and the know-how of themselves and the countless numbers that made it happen. If you want to talk about boldly going where no one has gone before, that was it. Watching Archer and company frolic on an alien world like they just piled out of an RV is the exact opposite of that feeling. So, Demon, I'm going to give you props. Whatever flaws you might have, you are still better than Strange New World by a mile.
It's almost 500 degrees Kelvin.
Yeah, and it's a dry heat, too. You know, it's a pity that they couldn't make a spacesuit for the probe. Then it would have been perfectly fine. They find some pools full of deuterium, but they have to be very careful, as the suits are too expensive to risk damaging. Seriously, so much so that it was cheaper to use special effects than to risk anything actually happening to the suits while they made the episode. A fine example of that happens when Harry falls in and Tom has to pull him out again. Yep, no matter how much you claim you're new and improved, Harry, you're still a loser that can fall into a puddle the moment someone turns their back. The good news continues.
Warning, Ensign Kim. An environmental seal has been compromised.
No, without environmental seal, who will stop Pollution Walrus? Tom tries to drag Harry back to the shuttle, but if there's one important thing to do when you need to conserve oxygen, it's babble stupid crap. So it won't surprise you to learn that Harry soon runs out of oxygen, only for Tom's to now begin leaking. As this was going on, incidentally, Harry and Tom are giving each other crap over how heavy they are and out of shape. Well, that was a not-so-subtle hint by the producers because the actors had put on a couple of pounds. Hey, it happens sometimes. Partially why TNG went away from the skin-tight uniforms. But as usually happens with Voyager, it was shared with the utmost respect. By telling the two of them if they don't shape up, the show would be called Star Trek Pigs in Space. Speaking of people being assholes, let's return to our subplot, which you'll remember is...
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Round 2 is Neelix and several extras trying to set themselves up in sickbay, and Chakotay arrives to come down on Neelix's side. More soon. First, the more important matter. The imminent death of Tom and Harry, as well as the dwindling supply of energy. We need an answer. Enjoy Janeway's train of thought for this.
You want me to take another shuttle down and look for them?
And risk losing you too?
Fair enough. It's too dangerous for us to go down there. What's your answer?
Either we keep waiting until we run out of deuterium and get trapped in orbit, or we land the ship.
Ah, it's too dangerous to go down there, so we'll all go down there. That's what on Voyager is called logic.
As you know, Captain, the landing procedure requires a significant output of energy. With shield strength as low as it is, we can't even be certain the ship will survive the descent.
What's the alternative?
Chakotay just told you. It's him going down in another shuttle.
We're up here, the deuterium's down there, and we're stuck without it. We've come this far.
Wait, have you never heard of the sunk cost fallacy? Jeez. So, having told us that this planet is even dangerous to orbit, you're going to land on it. The act of which consumes energy, and even after landing, staving off horrible death consumes energy, when your number one problem is a lack of energy. You have found an emaciated, starving man, and your plan to get him food hinges on him winning a triathlon. And it's exasperating because there are so many other options here, not the least of which being landing another shuttle as Chakotay suggested. Hell, you don't even need to land it. Just fly low over the area and see for yourself what might have happened. Worst case scenario is that he's lost too, and you're out someone whose idea of a good time is a story of a sacred frog who also is a boxer. And if the ship does run out of power in orbit, you can at least try to escape in shuttles and escape pods. It's a risk, sure, but a lot better than if you tried it while trapped on the planet. Voyager has frequently had flimsy rationale, but even for them, this is like Janeway declaring 2 + 2 = chicken. To prove to us how terrible this idea was, the ship manages to damage itself by landing, so repair crews are being organized to try to fix the damage before everybody dies. In the face of that, when Torres says she wants to go looking for Tom, Chakotay's argument is not that they need their best engineer saving them from death, no. It's that she's being too emotional, which she resents despite having once broken a man's nose just for disagreeing with her. It's a dangerous environment out there with a high chance that whoever's out there is going to die an agonizing death, Chakotay. On second thought, why don't you take 7 with you? Round 3 of our subplot begins with the Doctor deliberately being loud while Neelix and the extras are trying to sleep, hoping that being annoying will drive Neelix away. Classic rookie mistake. Trying to be more annoying than Neelix is like challenging the sun to a staring contest. Suffice to say, Neelix is soon getting his way while the Doctor is forced to brood quietly. On the planet, Seven and Chakotay are going about their business when they find the shuttle, the first one that is, including the hilariously amusing fact that the rear door is open all the way on a planet where we have been told repeatedly the temperature is around 500 Kelvin, which is just shy of the melting point of tin. And yet, despite that, the interior of the shuttle is perfectly fine. Yes, their probes are less durable than their upholstery. But Tom and Harry are nowhere to be seen, but not to worry, Chakotay's on this mission because, like Apache Chief, he has Indian tracking abilities.
Footprints.
I guess you never assimilated any Indian scouts.
Did I mention to you that a man does not own land? Anyway, Commander One with the Earth shows off his skills by walking to an unstable piece of cliff and then is soon dangling for his life over the pit after it collapses. Luckily, Tom shows up to help Seven save him, except Tom isn't wearing his suit. But before we get into that, Kenneth Miller bringing up the whole heritage thing reminds me of something. Does this mean that because Seven caught his hand and kept him from plunging to his death, that now Chakotay owes a life debt to Seven, the same way that he did to Tom for saving his life back in Caretaker? By now, Chakotay probably owes a life debt to like half the ship plus Seska. Anyway, back to Tom, who says that they passed out and then woke up to find that they didn't need their suits anymore. They could breathe normally.
Go ahead. Take your helmets off. Try it.
I tend to reserve try it for things that won't kill me in seconds.
Whatever you say, boss. But I'm telling you, we could breathe this air forever.
And as someone who knows biochemistry and is their backup physician, how exactly do you explain that, Tom? Anyway, let's get back to the ship with another round of our subplot.
Yes.
We should have transporters back online within the hour.
Well, that's great. But right now I'm more concerned with little things like, I don't know, say, life support?
Just what we need from our leader during a crisis. Sarcasm. Nothing keeps morale up quite like telling someone the task they were told to complete was pointless. Meanwhile, Chakotay and Seven find Harry and convince him to join them in returning to the ship. Yep. A planet that combines an oven with a gas chamber is preferable than going back to the hell that is Voyager. But they're getting beamed back, so everybody needs to leave sickbay.
Move! You heard the doctor. This is an emergency evacuation. Move! Move!
What did these people do that was so wrong that it demanded they be made subordinate to the fry cook? Looks like it's a good call they evacuated sickbay because the moment the away team beams back... You know what this reminds me of? That time you taught baby Naomi to smoke cigars? You read my mind! Naturally, the moment the Doctor replicates the gases of the planet, they're fine. They've been bioformed, the opposite of terraforming. To survive on the planet, thanks to some kind of fluid in their bloodstream, they've been made compatible with it.
But I hope to have some answers soon.
I'd like to run a few tests of my own, if you don't mind.
You think you can find a cure? Huh? I just thought they were expendable now. I've always wanted to find out how far a human could fly in space, powered only by a potato gun. The atmosphere of the planet isn't safe to be replicated for long, so if they can't cure this, they're going to have to leave Tom and Harry behind. They recovered some fuel, so they can leave now, see? For their sake, they begin an investigation of the place for an answer. Harry's going to join in, talking about how much he loves it here. Although he's probably just saying, my only way off Voyager is a hell planet? Well, that's not so bad. Meanwhile, Janeway and Torres are investigating some of the fluid, and lo and behold, it latches onto Torres' thumb, but then it slides off and immediately transforms into a thumb itself. Uh-oh. Let's get that to sickbay before Neelix puts it in the soup. During their investigation, the away team finds the real Harry and Tom, and in response, a pool of the liquid begins forming under Voyager, holding on to it. So Voyager plans to leave, grabbing the away team except for duplicate Harry, who has run off. No fool he. But Voyager's not going anywhere thanks to that fluid, which means the duplicate Tom isn't going anywhere unless he says what the hell's going on. Except he's in the dark as well. Until now, he honestly believed that he was Tom Paris. Whatever that fluid was duplicated Tom so exactly that even his memories are the same. While they're sorting that out, they hit the fluid with some technobabble, causing Perry to panic. So he beams aboard to discuss this with Janeway. The technobabble blasts are killing the stuff that they're made of, but they still refuse to let Voyager go. Through Tom and Harry, they've experienced sapience for the first time, and so want to duplicate the entire crew to populate the planet. Well, that's a nice idea, but that would completely alter the development of life on this world. A clear-cut Prime Directive issue. Not to mention the ethical question of deliberately creating clones of humanoids and then stranding them on this world. Or we could just ignore all that, say yes, do all of that off-screen, and then leave. Yeah. Well, if it ends the episode faster, I suppose that's worth it. Post-episode follow-up, there's no stupid Neelix moment. It's pointless when everyone decides to be an asshole. Final score for Demon is 3 out of 10. Another interesting idea spoiled. Demon tried hard to go for character work, but it flops miserably. The banter is like it was made by someone who is only familiar with language in a strictly theoretical sense. The character interactions belie an undercurrent of sudden baseless fury, or else the midst of a soft reboot of their personalities. In a tale that's supposed to be about exploration, this story is mired in mediocre irrelevance. So, want to see more? Well then tune in next week for Course Oblivion.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
I'm afraid.